Brian Sobel joining us now. Let's start right there with that Senate race in Texas. Very interesting. We had similar reactions when we saw the results. Beto O'Rourke was leading Ted Cruz by a couple of percentage points earlier. That race has really tightened up.
Absolutely, and you know, this was a real key race in the United States. This is a former presidential aspirant in Ted Cruz. You hear him a lot, you see him a lot in the Senate. To be knocked off tonight would be a big win for Democrats and for O'Rourke.
Still a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
And we were keeping a close eye on Florida. You know, Brooks covered Florida, the Senate race, and of course the gubernatorial race in Florida. I think a lot of people are pretty surprised that it is such a dead heat. I think many people were thinking, because Florida is a swing state, it's a purple state, they were thinking maybe they might lean a little bit more towards blue. But given the Republican candidate for the Senate race, Governor Rick Scott has a lot of popularity in Florida.
Absolutely. Rick Scott's well known in Florida. And I'll tell you something else about Florida that we can't forget is that Florida, for the last few elections in major races, has been about a 1% difference between the winner and the loser, somewhere in there. And it's tracking again tonight along the same lines.
So not much has changed. I think many people were wondering, well, they're trying to get that, you know, black voter turnout has increased this time around for the midterm elections. A lot of people were really saying, hey, you know, blacks are coming out to vote. We're seeing a big voter turnout with a candidate like Andrew Gillum out there. They thought, okay, maybe this will kind of spike more or spark more voters to come out for the Democrats.
Well, hopefully the upside of this is that we have drawn more voters to the polls, and we've drawn more voters to the polls of color, women, millennials, people who we want to have involved in this democracy of ours, and we've got to find a way to get people out to the polls, and we're seeing it tonight, and maybe a record-setting night for turnout, which is fabulous.
All right, in a larger sense, let me get your take here on the news that we just got a short time ago. Fox News is projecting that the Democrats will take control of the U.S. House of Representatives. We will have split government in Washington, D.C. No reaction as of yet from the president, either in person or on Twitter, but what do you imagine his reaction is?
Well, we'll hear from the Twitter-in-chief sometime later, no doubt. But he's a deal maker. He's a compromiser in probably in the better sense of the word. He'll find people on the Democratic side of the aisle that he can work with. We can never forget that just because you're part of the Republicans or the Democrats, it doesn't mean you're monolithic, that the only thing you think about is what the party thinks about. There are reasons why you go in different directions. He's got to find people who are Democrats who he can work with.
Yep. All right. Brian Sobel?
Absolutely.